Samurai Man, Damien. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the Warrior's Den. Here we are again. Why does it look like the font in your name's bigger than... No, it's just perception. It's just the angled screen. I was going to cause a stink.
But your job title looks bigger than mine.
It is a lot of letters.
So we're balanced.
Yeah, it's fair. Hi, everybody. We've got a cool show today. We have just completed our open test earlier this week. And what we thought would be cool was to do a whole segment with different designers from different sections of what was tested to talk about your feedback and some next steps.
Still early. Also, I just want to say that we're still gathering feedback. We're still looking at some data, etc. But we have... we start having some answers and next steps and things that we wanted to share with you.
Direction of where, So that'll be in just a few minutes. We'll go through our usual kind of news of the week, and then we'll get into that with some of our friendly faces that you'll friendly, familiar faces, friends, fun, and footage.
Move on.
I was trying to find one more F, and it didn't come to me. Also, speaking of open test, if you participated in it and played at least one match, you will now, today, be getting 2,000 steel on your account on the live game. So that's pretty cool.
Yes.
And that's even if you are...
console player.
Yeah, so if you're an Xbox player, for example, you went to PC, did the open test, and you're using the same Uplay account, you'll get it on your Xbox. So that's cool. That's nice. It's nice they found a way to do that. So... let's hit the news, Damien.
And this one is cool.
This one is cool.
It's really cool.
XP Fest in effect
is
starting
back
tomorrow. There it is. From September 14th, XP is doubled on all orders. That's not one word. Game modes. all orders.
Orders.
So that's for the weekend. Double XP.
Yeah.
Woo!
It's really cool. It has been asked quite a few times now. Yes. I don't know when we did the last one.
Last season.
And so this is the XP Fest of Season 7.
Yes. Come get your XPs.
So, yeah.
A cool thing that actually I didn't realize until I was preparing this week's show. Spoilers, I prepare these shows not very well. Next week, starting on Wednesday, we're doing a steel sale. 30% off all steel packs. That goes from September 19th to 26th. So that's pretty cool.
So it's celebration time. XP Fest, Steel Fest.
Damien is just
what's
making
going
it
on?
Rain.
Yeah.
Making it rain XP and steel. I don't know. Also, this weekend, we're bringing back our old friend, the Ranked Duel Tournament.
Yes.
There it is
will
right
be
there.
Ranked Duel Tournament only.
Yes, so this
the
time we're
way
only
to play
doing...
ranked, because for the moment it's the most successful way we had. I don't know if it was live. Do we want to speak about that?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we should, because so not the run-off show.
Last weekend we hit a number of snags with our deployments.
Yes, so we had some issues on the rank, and the team did a lot of updates, and one I think on Friday morning. And there was a mistake in the deployment, but we only figured it out, I think, 2 days ago. So you had all different kind of modes available at the same time.
Even ones we didn't want you to know about?
Even ones that are not revealed yet. So we won't say what it is, but you could play some stuff a bit earlier than planned.
Speaking of Christmas, it's like, here, have every mode variation.
Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah, so that was
So we removed it silently when we discovered that.
But speaking of that, we did have to do a fix for Ranked, which we have done as of Friday. So Ranked is back to being operational. Yeah,
Ranked is back. No issues so far.
Cool.
Still some things we want to do to improve it as usual. But
Cool. And so then just again to clarify, for the weekend only, you can only play Ranked by doing the Ranked Duel Tournament in the Ranked front. That's what we were just showing you.
Exactly.
And,
it's something we can say, when you play tournament, is the best way to earn the rewards linked to Ranked, because you have guaranteed rewards based on which level you reach and how far you go in the tournament.
That's right. And to go along with that, we have an event order, the Ranked Vanquisher Challenge. Beautiful image. Look at that Zerker. Be the faction with the most ranked match wins, and you get XP boost rewards. Different, depending if you're first, second, or third, you get different amounts of XP boosts.
Yeah.
Cool.
That you can use afterwards with the XP Fest.
Oh.
Because XP Fest works on XP Boost, it works on match XP, champion status.
That's true. If you have XP boosts, you can use them. In this example, not great, because the XP Fest is over when the ranked event is over.
So you will get the boost only at the end.
Yeah. But if you have XP boosts, use them during the XP
because
Fest.
you will have other ones afterwards.
Great pro tip.
Yeah.
Speaking of great, our friends at Ubi Brazil do a lot of great work. I think they're probably streaming this right now. They stream our show and then they translate it into Portuguese. Yeah. So hi guys, Gabriel and Sardo.
We should speak Portuguese, so then they would have nothing to do.
There is one thing I'm going to try to say in Portuguese right now.
Okay.
So they're doing a big tournament series in Brazil. It's called Lords de Guerra Domínio. It's a Dominion tournament. Oh, and then there's a second half to it, which is Lords de Guerra Invasio. That's Breach. So let me read to you. So Dominion. It's a Dominion tournament, 64 teams max, PC only. It's open for registration right now until the 18th. Online qualifiers will be on the 22nd. The finals will be live streamed during Brazil Game Show, which is a crazy big game convention in Sao Paulo.
We're not going there. We should.
We're sending Mariana.
Ah, that's good. and logical.
Yes, she speaks Brazilian Portuguese. That goes from October 10th to the 14th. There will also be Breach show matches at Brazil Game Show. 5,000, I don't know the currency of Brazil. Does anyone? 5,000 Brazilian bucks is the prize. Cool.
It's RS.
R dollar sign.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's only half of it. The second half is Lords de Guerra Invasio. Breach mode tournament, also 64 teams max, PC only. Registrations for that are open on October 29th, the day after my birthday, until November 8th, with online qualifiers on November 10th, and finals at the Comic-Con Experience in Brazil. I don't know what city that's in. That's an event that goes from December 6th to 9th. At this event, they're also going to have a Breach show match, some high-profile Brazilian content creator folks. The prize for that one is 10,000 Brazil bucks. Brazilian real. Thank you so much, Alex. Now I have actual words. Brazilian real. 10,000. That's a lot of real.
Yeah. Is it a lot of money? We don't know.
I believe it is.
It's a lot of real.
Yes, they're very generous at UB Brazil. So both tournaments will be best of 3 during the qualifiers and best of 5 in the finals.
Best of 5 Breach.
Woo!
Pretty long final.
Oh yeah. So thanks again to our Brazilian UB folks. They're doing great stuff down there. We have a huge community down there. We'll get down there one of these days. Maybe for Lords de Guerra Invasio. Maybe that's when I'll go down.
Go in the luggage of Mariana.
Yes.
I love that.
Last week we started something new, which is a sale of the week, which coincides with our content of the week. They're not connected, but both weekly things we do now.
Is that something we still do this week?
Oh, yes.
That's cool.
Did you think we're not?
No, I knew. But I try to, create a conversation.
Oh, hey.
That is not faked at all.
Very natural.
See?
Indeed, we are this week doing a sale of the week, Damien. And this week it's for mask outfits, specifically Medusa's Favor for the Knights, Heavenly Crane for the Samurai, and Battle Swine for the Viking. 13,000 steel instead of 20. That's a good deal.
I love the Samurai one. In fact, I love all of them. But,
of course you do. So that's available just for this week at that price, September 13th to 20th. Okay, content of the week.
They didn't choose the worst content to be on sale, to be honest.
No, that's
Execution,
pretty good.
No masks.
Exactly. And people snatched up those executions. The content of the week this week is also great. And I saw some early folks on Reddit already capturing video of it. So it's an emote for every character called Recognition. It's not a single emote that's shared. Everyone has their own individual one. It's just called Recognition for all of them. 7,000 steel each, and this answers something that the community's asked for quite a while.
Yeah.
They like the fun emotes, they like the funny ones, they want something honorable, respectful, whatever, because everyone is so respectful. So let's check out the video of Recognition, and then we'll be back with Damien, Stefan Jawinski, and Stefan Brochu. Let's check it out.
Berstu með sæmd. Nú þarf sverð mitt að rista djúpt. Drepa! Drepa! Drepa!
Bardagi kallar á.
Be honorable.
It's badass to be honorable?
Yes.
Very
I
badass.
agree. Damien says it's badass. Say it into the camera, Damien.
It's
Wait
badass.
for Max because he's slow.
It's badass. It's badass to be honorable.
Yeah, we get the reveal of Steph next to you hugging a pillow. Yes, I'm psyched about those emotes. It seems people are too. And yeah, you can get them now. Okay, guys, we did an open test this past weekend
Yes, we did.
for Marching Fire on PC. Steam and Uplay. Console people, we still love you.
It wasn't full Marching Fire open test. It
No,
was
but it was
Breach,
a lot.
Willing Heroes, Perk System.
It was all 3 Breach maps, which
Yeah.
Stefan will talk about. We've got Stefan and Stefan. This is hard for me. Yes, Breach. We had all 4 Wulin heroes, which
Yes.
Stefan will talk about.
Yes.
We had Perks, which Damien will talk about.
Yes.
So much going on. But the elephant in the room is what I will talk about because I drew the short straw. So, yes, we know. Everybody, we know. Look at me. Look at me. We know. The voice system is a big deal for a lot of people. We're aware of this. It's a very hot topic. And we know you want to hear more about that. And I will say, since last week, we have not said a lot. because we've been trying to read as much as possible, listen to your opinions as much as possible, while also discussing here with our team and determining what our next steps can be. So what we do know, it's not just people. It's not just simple like, we hate the new voice system, cut it. It's not as simple as that. We know that actually there's been a lot of good feedback on both sides, but we know it's very specific to a bunch of different points, and that's what we're drilling into with our team here to see what we can do. So I do not have next steps to tell you today on the show, and I know that people want that. We don't have those yet. As soon as we do, we will communicate them, and it'll probably even be before next week's show, hopefully, cross fingers. But when we do, you'll know it for sure. So stay tuned. Like I said, I know you want a next step. We're not there yet because we are taking it super seriously and we want to do what we can. Okay, so that said, now we can talk about fun stuff.
Fun.
Let's start with Breach,
Cool.
because that's your baby.
That's my baby.
So again, I want to reemphasize the fact that it's very early.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah, I
don't.
mean, the test finished
All
Monday.
the solutions, we're testing some solutions. Everything is not defined yet. What we're going to do, but we want to share with you the early results of the open test. We're still waiting for surveys. We're still waiting for some information on our side. But we start seeing some tendencies and some things. So we start taking some next steps on those subjects, and wanted to share that.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. We want to show that we are responding to your feedback.
Yeah.
Which we got a lot of, actually. So thank you, everyone who went to the For Honor PTS subreddit, which is
Yeah.
a special sub that we created for things like this. We've done public tests in the past, so we'll use it again. So thank you so much for all that feedback. I know apart from the community team, all of your teams have been going in there directly too, searching for their specific favorite topic. So yes, let's get into Breach. How do we do in our Breach?
We did really, really well. I mean, the amount of matches played was good, was very, very good, was better than the
Technical
TTS
test,
before,
yeah.
the technical test, which is what we were hoping for. We had a lot more content also to check. One of the fear we had was that because we had the 3 maps, our numbers would drop per map, and we want to have a certain amount of data, a certain amount of match plays before we can draw any conclusion whatsoever. So what we found is once we started filtering for custom match, because we don't care about custom match, obviously.
care about custom.
Well, we
It's
care
just
about
that-
it, but we can't use
otherwise
the data.
they-
We can't use the data.
They can be rigged
because we don't know
There's
what.
a lot of
Yeah.
modifiers.
Yeah, and people go in
People
there to
can
try
test
stuff,
things,
and that's fine, and that's exactly what it's for. So once we filter out for that, and we filter out for matches that ended with less players than they started, i.e. Matches with bot replacements, we need to filter them out. The bots are good. They know how to play the mode. They're getting better. They're going to get better, but they're not at the level of players yet. Obviously, this is a very complex mode. This is much more complex than what we did for Dominion or for Duels. So it's got many, 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 many more layers. So we need to not look at those matches because they give us false impressions. So once we've done that, we ended up with a little bit more than 4,500 matches per map post-patch. So if I include the pre-patch stuff, when we patched on the Friday, if I include those, we're up to 7,500. But the 4,500 that we had post-patch give us enough data to have a good impression of what direction we're taking and what we're doing. The next step, the next thing I want to address is I'm just going to talk to you about FO1. Sorry,
Dev terms, the night map.
The night map. Because that's the map that we worked on. That's our benchmark map. That's the one that was in TTS. It's the one we've worked on the most. The other 2 maps, we're aware of issues, but a lot of it probably has to do with LD, and so we need to bring them in line with the other ones. So the only numbers I'm going to talk to you about, and the next step I'm going to talk about is FO1, because once we get the numbers we want in FO1,
It's the night map.
The night map. Sorry. Once that's fixed, then we should be able to bring the Viking map and the Samurai map up to date as well. So it's going to be easier. So, looking at post-match, what we want as the breakdown, what we're looking for is 66% of the time, or 2/3 of the time, we want the match to end in the king phase.
Okay.
because that's the only place where the attackers can win. So we need, if we want to get a 50-50 break, because obviously that's what we're aiming for, we need to have the matches predominantly ending there. Else, if we don't have that, then we end up having the attackers always winning when they reach that phase, and that's no fun.
Right.
So once we have that, then we want a split, a 25% split overall for when the ram is broken versus when the tickets are broken, and a 50% of the time when the king is killed, right? So that we have a nice distribution. So that means for defenders, they have the same, they have two viable strategies, so the attackers have to be careful about those two different strategies. So if we break it down in 66% and 33%, or 66.66, whatever, the breakdown, then what you have is the ram needs to be destroyed about 75% of the time before, if you don't reach the king phase, and 25% of the time ticket that before if you don't reach the king phase, and the reverse. So the king being killed 75% of the time in king phase, and 25% of the time ticket that happening in the king phase.
I like it while you say numbers, watching Damien's face while his computer brain is processing them.
He's processed those numbers
Correct,
before.
correct.
He's actually just double checking what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
no, exactly. That's what
Which is different. Which is
He's going
completely
through his
different.
loop. Yes, he's saying it right. Yes,
I'm ready to jump like the champion.
No, that's not what I meant. So what we found when we're looking at those numbers and where we want to go is that, unfortunately, right now, what we have is we don't have a 50-50. We have a 45-55.
50-50.
Yeah, we're not a 50-50. We're at 45-55, which
True
is
talent, shout out.
which is not quite where we want. We want it to be a little higher for the attackers. So defenders are still favored a little bit too much, so we need to tweak that. And it also means that the funny thing is the ram is destroyed 34% of the time, which is too high for us. It should be at 25. And the ticket that's only happening 21% of the time. So we need to see exactly what we can do. We have some next steps. And I forgot about this. What the patch did was
So we did a patch mid-test.
mid-test where we made the king a little tougher. So a little bit more HP, a little bit more damage on the top attack, or top special. And we made that the cauldron, when it's used, would affect the attacker minions, would insta-kill the attacker minions on it. The thinking of it would be to force the ram to pose at that point instead of continue charging, forcing the attackers to be not only around the ram but also downstairs to make sure that the ram kept on charging, all that stuff. And it gave us kind of the results we wanted. It increased the ram death a little too much, but it increased the amount of time we went into the king phase. So right now, the amount of time that we're going into king phase is about 58% versus 42% that we don't make it. Those numbers are too low. Not by much, but they're too low, so we need to increase that a little bit. We're doing some changes to some of the data. We're introducing a few new concepts. We're going to be playing, and this is between me and you, we're playing this Friday at the 360 because our team, the entire floor For Honor plays every Friday.
Yep.
So
It's
it's in the 360 Call to Arms. It's in this week's Call to Arms. We'll be able to play. So that should be really, really interesting.
Cool.
So this is what we're doing, and this is where we're going.
And then after the Call to Arms, if it's good, if we like
good,
it,
yeah, we're gonna keep on going.
We would like, ideally, if we have time, to push it for launch of Marching Band.
Yes, that's the whole point.
That's
Yes.
Skipping this.
We're going to skip the next part. Okay, so you mentioned Reddit. We read a lot.
I mentioned Reddit.
We read a lot of stuff on Reddit.
Yep.
We were happy to see feedback on Reddit, and there's some stuff that came up that I would like to address.
Steph, don't put sheets down unless you want people to screen cap what you got here. Do you want people to screen cap it?
I don't. It's the numbers I talked to you about. It shouldn't make a difference.
Exactly.
So there you go.
I'm just saying.
Okay, so one of the big things people talk about on Reddit right now was why do the attackers have tickets, or why don't the defenders also have tickets? And that whole notion of it's unfair that the attackers can lose with tickets when the defenders don't have tickets. Just to address the first part really quickly, if the defenders also had tickets, we would turn the game into elimination. We don't want that, right? We don't want to
They
just
don't want
hunt.
that either.
Well, do you want to play a 30-minute elimination match? The answer is no. I think, right? Or,
Yes.
Yes. There we go.
Yes, no.
Damier says yes. So the reason behind the tickets, and yes, it is a resource that depletes and it's something that brings you closer to your loss, but the defenders have the same thing. It's just most people don't notice it. It's the ground you lose. The attackers are constantly moving forward. When
They never get that back.
The ram will never go backwards.
Yep.
And once you capture the archer points, you'll never lose them. So
And even the progression of the capture, you don't lose it either.
exactly. So even if you partly captured fortified an archer point, if the defenders take it back, when you take it back, you don't lose that. So that is their finite resources,
Right.
and that's really important because if the attackers do it correctly, that finite resource eventually will lead you to the king, and then you can kill the king.
Right.
So it's not true that it's unfairly balanced. It's just differently balanced. And to us, that works really, really well, and that's super important. Remove tickets from the attacker, and what you're going to get is attackers that don't care.
Yeah.
You're just going to rush, and you're going to die, and it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Because the ground you gain, you're never going to lose, so it's just going to be rush, 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 rush. And it's going to lose a lot of the strategic elements and a lot of the levers that the defenders can use.
Yeah.
So that's super important. The second part is the respawn timer.
Yes.
As a clarification, it isn't the fact that somewhere in the big private test server thread, all the numbers are there. If you guys look for it, you're going to find a lot of numbers we're talking about right now, a lot of the balancing factors that we've given. And the basic thing to understand about the respawn timers is the base time is 15 seconds. So if I'm level 0, I have 15 seconds. If I'm level 1, I gain 5 seconds more. So it's 20 seconds. Then it goes to 24 seconds. Then it goes to 27 seconds. And then it tops off at 30. 30 seconds is the longest. 30 seconds is only going to happen if you're level 4.
Are there any other modifiers on that?
There's no other modifiers. So executions don't add anything.
Okay.
So that's the only thing. So the reason it increases is your death matters much more later on in the game than in the beginning of the game. And if you don't do that, if you have, let's say we had a flat respawn timer of 15 seconds, the king phase would be impossible. Because you would die, you'd come back right away. You come back right away. The thing is, towards the end of the game, what you're trying to do is killing someone opens up a window. And it makes reviving much more important for both teams, actually. As a defender at the beginning of the game, I die, I don't care. Don't revive me, I'm going to respawn in 15 seconds. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, if I die and I'm level 4, then you need to revive me to bring me back in the fight.
Yeah.
So it's super important. And it's also part of what you're trying to do. You're trying to keep away the other team as much as possible from your objective so that you can put yourself in a position to win. You don't have that, you lose that aspect completely. And again, it becomes meaningless. It just becomes churning. You run, you die, don't care, run back, you die, you don't care. We want to put a certain importance on fight because Steph's teams work so hard on fight so that we want to make sure that it has an impact, but we also want it to be strategical. It's like, when do I revive you? When do I not revive you? You might have noticed it's harder to revive somebody who's dead around the commander.
Yeah.
Well, that's on purpose. I think I called the commander the king earlier on again.
Yeah.
It's harder because he's going to hit you and you're going to probably die as well. But again, it makes the game much more interesting. So that's super, super interesting and important for us to have that increase. Pikemen. We love the pikemen. What else is there to say? They're dangerous. You got to be careful. Don't fight around them. Yes, they interrupt you when you're trying to revive somebody or to execute somebody. Maybe you're in the wrong place to do it.
There are real ingredients you need to play with.
Yes.
So
They're
you
the same thing
can't
as a
ignore
portrait.
them. You can't. You have. If you want to revive a mate, maybe you will need to kill some of
Exactly.
the ones that are around you, or take a risk to be interrupted.
Exactly.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
And they're a real source of renown, so that's also why they're a little tougher. So farming the pikemen is super important early in the game, so you can gain your feats faster. So we needed to balance it that way. We wanted them to be a real, clear and present danger, to quote the movie title for some reason.
Harrison Ford.
But they needed to be that, else they became like what we have in Dominion, and they're fine in Dominion because it's a much shorter thing. It's a mode, and it's much more high-paced. This, we wanted to slow it down a bit and give you more renown and all that stuff to get them.
So the state of the pikemen in this test was changed since the previous test.
Yeah, we
No?
did. We did some
si.
changes.
We-
We did some
we-
changes.
Is that French?
Yes. So if we compare to the TTS, in the open test, you could dodge them. You couldn't in the technical
well, we've
test.
improved them in that sense. We didn't
Yes.
lower them though. That's
No,
what I
no,
meant.
but what I mean is that you couldn't block,
You couldn't block, you couldn't dodge
you
out.
couldn't dodge out.
Right.
They did a little bit more damage than they do now, but not
Yeah.
much. Like we're talking from 12 to 10, if I remember my numbers
So we
correctly.
still did some improvement based on the frustration they were
Yeah, they still have
generating.
the same HP that they
Yeah.
used to have.
Yeah.
I don't believe they're...
And we changed the aggro rules, I
No,
think.
the aggro
no?
rules have been
we
like that
had
for
them.
a few months.
Yeah.
The aggro rules.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the fact that they don't attack you unless you attack them, or unless they have nothing else to do.
yes. Then that's
And what they have to do first before attacking you
Is-
is attacking the other soldier or the ram.
yeah. And when
Rules
they're
of
on the
engagement kind of.
Yeah.
when they're on the ram, they will not attack you. They're so busy on the ram that you can come and whack them in the
So
back.
even if you attack them, they
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's a lot of factors you can play with to palliate the fact that they're dangerous. So it's also always good. I wrote down I surrender.
Yes.
I do not surrender. What I mean is we've had a lot of questions about having a surrender option.
Yeah.
We're looking at it very carefully. The thing people have to keep in mind, and that we haven't really communicated.
First,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. First, tell people why they're asking for a surrender option.
And-
Remember,
and-
not everyone gets to do the test.
And I will have something to add on that because
Yeah,
it
right.
was also because we didn't have something activated
Yes,
in the open.
and I wasn't sure you were going to mention that, but
Yeah, I
I'll
will.
let you talk about that. So the reason people were asking for that is because the people had a feeling, a lot of players had a feeling that within the first 5 minutes of the match, you could tell who's going to win. I do not agree with that sentiment. I think I've seen a lot of match be very close and changing,
Turn it around, yeah.
turning around.
Especially when they get to the king phase.
Yeah, the king phase,
Commander phase.
the commander's phase. It can be it can change a lot. It can swing quite a bit. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of communication and teamwork. But I can understand how you feel in a match where you're like, oh, he has 25 takedown. The highest player on my team has 2. Or I find myself with 3 bots, and they're a full team, and they're obviously communicating. So it's frustrating. That's where the people are asking for the quit, for the surrender option. One thing to keep in mind is that in Breach we have a new system, which is instead of giving you a fixed amount for the amount of time we think a match will last, we actually calculate how much time you're spending in the mode to calculate your reward. So even if you're losing, if you stick in the match, you're going to get more rewards than if you quit.
Right.
Because you were looking at your performance and we're looking at the time you spent.
That's not. I'm not
And
sure.
I will go back on that
Yeah,
as well.
I
We
was
have
gonna say, I'm not
some
sure we had a
updates.
chance to really
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
people.
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it. Okay.
yeah.
So the other thing is we're looking also at the consequences of all that. So we're seriously studying what a surrender option would mean, how we would implement it, and when we would trigger it. No real decision has been taken so far. We're just studying it. We're just making sure that we don't do something and then we regret it like 5 minutes later.
And there is also one of the reasons why the people wanted to have the surrender option, the open test, that because we didn't have any quit penalty.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anybody could leave whenever they wanted.
Yeah.
So we had many matches that ended with almost a full team of bots and
Yep.
only one very resilient player who sticked around just to see the end of it. And we want to activate quit penalty in Breach at launch. It just needs some dev. Based on the dev we did on rank, the fact that we penalize everything might not be something we want in casual play. So it's one of the things we're working on right now. It's one of the next steps we have from the open test for the release of Marching Fire.
That's a good point. Just to interject with a question from Glitch Hunter 33. Is there some other place besides Reddit where we can post suggestions and bugs? It seems like there are a lot of posts that can get drowned in reminders and current memes. Oh, we love the memes, though. Yes, absolutely. The forums, the official Ubisoft forums, are always there for you, and you can go there. And my man Fred, if he's in the chat, lives there. He has like a condo in our forums, so you'll find him there. So yes, please feel free to post them there, and you can even poke him and say, "Hey Fred, Pope told me to do this," and then he'll say, "God damn it, Pope!"
Zach rigging the bell at his door.
Yes, wake up!
I got a comment.
Yeah.
There's also a video that was posted on Reddit
Yes.
about the famous, I believe they're Korean players taking down the commander in 10 seconds, and people are going,
Let's watch the video.
let's watch it, and then I'll comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love the piano.
Love the piano. The piano is great. It gives the right atmosphere. Few things. A, did you see that scoreboard at the end?
Yeah, that was lopsided.
That was a little lopsided. 38 tickets with the king.
Yeah.
At
Had
the,
they
the
not
commander.
bum rushed the commander,
They would
38
have
tickets.
still won.
Woo.
So the big thing is we looked at it, we analyzed it, we tried to figure out exactly what was going on, and the answer is super simple. That was a really well executed strategy.
Yeah.
I can't say anything else than that. They managed to kill the Guardian right before the gate was broken. So they have all the buffs. The entire team has the buff almost. The defenders all, like 2 of them were dead. They're nowhere to be seen around the king, or the commander. And then they do a minor debuff, which I don't think made a big difference. At the end of the day, I look at it myself and I go, well done. And it's like, we don't want to take away, like they played super well and they played that sequence super well. It was a very well executed strategy. If you start nerfing that, then I feel that it's like, And it could have been countered by the defending team. They could have kill-stealed the Guardian, and then everything goes south, well, south-ish.
I think when we first talked about it, you kind of framed it as the defender team. It was like a mercy kill of the defending team.
Yeah, and the other thing is the match was too long. No, the match was over
quickly.
within 15 seconds after, and boom, it's done. They did it really well. Are we going to take a look at it a little bit later on, maybe nerf it a bit? Maybe. I can't. It's the same thing as the other video with Shaolin teleporting to the gate and placing the flag. Again, the setup by that team, the Shaolin's level 4. There's nobody around the cauldron. There's a defender player that's standing there. And if you look at the UI, the Ram is almost dead anyway. Again, they did it because they could. They executed it well, but they executed well. It's not like I'm going to do this all the time. To do this all the time, it would be extremely difficult to do. So,
cool.
Last point on breach.
Yes.
That we almost discussed is the breach or the breach rewards.
Yes.
So XP, steal, etc. So as Stéphane said, we have a new system in place. First time we test it for breach in the open test is we're rewarding also based on the time of the session. And if it's something successful, and I'm speaking future, but it's something we'd like to have also as well for any other game mode. So if you have a very hard duel and you spend a lot of time in a duel match, maybe you will get more rewards than a very fast duel. So that's the goal in the end. But the first step is that we're deploying it for breach and arcane mode.
Oh.
Yes. But I won't go into that detail. That's for future warriors then. And so we had some comments on Reddit and on the forums about that some players felt the rewards for breach were right, and others felt it was a bit too low. So this is partly because of that new system that we're balancing, and we're looking at the numbers as of now and comparing it with the live version of Dominion with Mariana. You know Mariana now.
Yes.
I think you've seen her already in the dev talk. So we're looking at that with her, and right now the plan is to increase the rewards by I won't say a number because we're still discussing it, but pretty high.
When Damien does that,
it's not too bad.
yeah,
it's more than 2.
It's more than 1% for sure. So we're looking at that right now. That was also one of the objectives of the open test. So yes, you will get more rewards with breach, and I think it will be very interesting to play Bridge
Cool.
for XP still and all of that.
Robbie HD wants to know if my boy Stefan, and I think he meant you, but it could apply to either of you, is on Twitter, and I think neither of you are.
I am.
I think you're not.
I am not.
Do you want to share your
He's all
Twitter
yours.
account? It's up to you.
Sure, but it's mostly.
It's up to you. Let's say no.
I'll give it to you later, and you tell me.
No, it's totally your choice if
I
you want
actually
people.
follow you,
I'll look you up.
along with 40,000 people.
Well, yeah, it's up to you if you want people sending you feedback on Twitter.
Sure.
It's up to you. All right, that brings me to the other Steph.
Hello. Sorry,
so
my voice
quiet.
disappeared in that
You're
time.
so
I guess. Sorry.
quiet. Steph.
Yes.
In this test,
Yes.
a couple things that fall under your team's domain.
Yes.
Dominio, feats, and then fight balance.
Okay, we'll start with Feats then, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess that's the order we're doing today.
whatever you want.
To keep the more juicy stuff at the end. I see what you're doing here.
Yeah, there were a number of changes to the feats that you guys have seen in this.
Which even, I'm going to interject already. Sorry, camera 2.
Sorry, camera.
There were a number of feat changes, and I want to apologize because we didn't message those. We didn't put any notes up for those. So some people noticed there were feat changes, some people didn't.
On the old heroes or on the
Yes.
Wulin?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was a mistake on our side.
Yeah, we had a plan for Season 8 patch notes, and then didn't think too much about open test patch notes, honestly, and we're like, uh-oh.
So back to you.
So high level, what did we change? There's some status feeds that got changed. Unblockable, Sharpened Blade, Chilling Stare, Fear Itself. I think the most overly powerful, let's say, feeds. Basically, cooldowns and durations were touched on these. I'll just high level you, and then we'll talk about them. Traps are the biggest one, I think. They've gone down to you can place one of that kind of trap at a time. So you can't have a stun trap, stun trap, stun trap, stun trap. As your cooldowns come down, you have stun trap. And then you replace it with the same stun trap, and that first one disappears.
Disappoint.
Disappoint?
I'm so happy with that.
You like the death cube?
It makes so much sense.
Zerk, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously you can imagine those situations where you show up at someone's point C or whatever, and
Or in front of the commander.
there's 4,000 traps, and that we didn't like. Before, on Season 7, I think we nerfed the...
Are we okay over there, guys?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I can't be heard?
It's okay on this side, not okay.
Twitch
don't know.
appears to be having problems.
With?
YouTube still watching us, though?
And mixed.
Okay. All right. So we're tweeting. We're sending people to YouTube. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Tell your friends we're still here on YouTube. Hooray! All right. Sorry, Steph.
That's okay.
We'll have a VOD. Even if they miss it, they can watch it afterwards.
Perfect. Generally, a bunch of AoE feats, bombs, Pugno, Mortis, Aerostrike, Catapult, all these kind of ones, Aerostorm, Ki.
Ki.
I don't know if I pronounced it correctly.
I think I did.
You've been on fire for that today. All of these cooldowns or radius or damage, we did small touches, and that's the general sense of what happened. So, what's happening with the status effect feats? The first one, Sharpened Blade, Fear Itself, Unblockable. I think everyone can feel that these are like extremely powerful feats. Yes, you have to still be able to kill your opponent in the fight sense to make them happen, but you don't have to hit the opponent too many times, especially in the Sharpen Fear Itself combo. I think Zerk could probably one-shot you with the zone, for example, and we're trying to pull that back a little bit.
Yeah, and those were feats where we got a lot of those feedback.
Yes.
Where
Yes.
people ask us, hey, you should tune some of the feats because some are way more powerful than others.
Yeah, and
That's why I said
And
Ki, because I've seen that
That's
come up
part
a lot
of
lately.
the work we're doing on those. Yeah.
exactly. So it's finally time to touch that. We'll see where we end up, but I think we will probably be in a better place for these. Ki, Orochi gets at tier 1, for example, and that's the most famous because Orochi is very high picked over Shinobi, for example. Tier 1, you hit all your enemies, you don't hit your allies. and your cooldown was like 45 seconds. So we looked at cooldown, and we looked at you also impact your allies, so you can't just walk into the group fight and not care who gets hit. Now you have to care a little bit, and you'll start annoying your friends, I think, for at least a couple weeks.
And I think we'll go into more details for the real patch note of Marching
Yeah,
Fire
for
update,
course,
but
for
we
sure.
wanted to explain what's going on.
Exactly, and,
Yeah.
and the last thing I want to say on the bombs is like, why did some of these AoEs get like nerfs mostly? Is we think that these, especially tier 4 feats, are important to be able to close games out with.
Yeah.
You got yours, you should be ahead for a certain amount of time before they get theirs. Use your feat, try to win the game, or at least put yourself in a better position. So they have to be strong enough to do that job, but at the same time, they shouldn't be no-brainers, basically. So we're trying to find that level.
Saw a lot of
makes sense.
people sad about their catapult.
I think it's still going to be okay. I think you're still going to see games won with
pain.
catapults, so should be fine.
I like catapult because it leads to great videos on Reddit that we show on the Warriors. Okay.
Sorry, I was just going to say that is the great thing about them, like game closers and like group busters, basically, right?
Totally.
There's 3 people killing your one friend.
I don't know if you saw, I think it was last week's show, because of a catapult, I think, or Aerostorm, there was a Dominion tie.
Yeah.
Dominion ended in a
see that.
tie and with the catapult. I'll send you the clip.
Interesting.
I was like, wow, I'd never seen a tie before. It was amazing. But yeah.
Interesting.
Oh. Sorry, we're still having Twitch issues, folks. But we should be up on YouTube. Okay, so let's talk about Wulin.
Wulin.
All 4 were in the test.
All 4 are in the test, so this is the first time everybody's had a chance to play these 4 fighters. Some people have got to play the Qiandi and the Shaolin at a previous test, closed test, exactly. Maybe E3, maybe Gamescom, maybe one of these things if you were lucky enough to be there. So you've seen those characters have some changes between the two. Nusha and Zhang, first time for everybody, but that's kind of where we are. It's interesting, the data that we're seeing. The pick rate for the 4 heroes was 70, 75, somewhere in there, combined.
Wow.
So it's a little difficult to say, like...
Yeah, but it's normal. That's a new thing you want to play.
Well, I'm happy that the numbers are high that way, so that's good. So pick rate off the charts, excellent. Win rate, we're trying to figure out, it's only in breach mode, blah, 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 with people who are learning the heroes. We're seeing Zhang Jung at the very top of the list. We're seeing the other 3 pretty low. I'm seeing disagreement from Eric.
No, sorry.
Eric doesn't believe the data.
Don't list. I'm being. No, we don't want that. Thank you.
I'm just kidding.
Keep going.
Yeah, Zhang Jung's doing very well. I think
He was made for group fights, for group situations.
he's got AoE, he's got
yeah.
unblockables. I think when you're especially learning your character and your opponent's character, it's very hard to deal with things you have to deal with, and maybe they're external a lot of the time. So I think that's responsible for such a high state today. And maybe we'll see when people start to learn what can he do and how do I deal with it.
Yeah.
This will probably fall over time. Tiandi, Shaolin, and Nusha are too low right now. We're seeing in our data as well. So really the big thing will be...
Candy was still quite high.
He's not too bad.
Yeah,
Not too,
yeah,
or
compared to the
she-
two
or she
others.
is not
Yeah,
too
yeah,
bad. Yeah. And then basically for those 3, we want to take a look at buffs. The interesting thing for us is because we've seen closed tests before and now open tests now, we can see what were the effects of the changes. Some were small and seemed to have small effect, and some were small and seemed to have big effect, for example. And it's a matter of finding maybe what is the midpoint for some of these pieces, for example. Specifically, I can say a few things about like what pieces have been the most vocal on these things. Tiandi, the dodge, I mean, like we've seen some difficulties where it's not dodging things quite to the extent that we want. The damage buffs or damage nerfs on the heavy that this character experienced were probably the most felt by players, I think, and maybe this is a way we can come back as well. Shaolin, I've seen complaints about key stance stamina consumption to be in this role, and the removal of the stun effect, for example. Nusha and TND just 2 went safe when they miss their kind of signature moves. So maybe we could do something this way. And Jiangjun, trying to figure out. I still think there's some things that we could tweak to improve, say like damage in single target type things or like openers, rather than the unblockable finisher, for example. But I think that's kind of where we're thinking for these topics, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome.
I would have given you some questions, but our Twitch is still down.
Okay.
But thank you for joining us on YouTube and Mixer, folks. I bet our Mixer numbers are through the roof. So, wow, 70, dang. For us, that's through the roof. Okay, Damien, we ain't done. Let's talk perks from the perky man himself.
Yes, so perks, one of the big change as well coming with Marching Fire. So to recap, the idea, gear stats are out, gear perks are in. So
you know that it really bothers Alex when you say ID instead of idea?
Idea?
There's an A on the end, and that she always
says,
but Damien said ID again.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm French.
It could be.
Very common.
Very common. Yeah, I love baguettes. What are perks?
Yes,
It's like,
what's the ID?
So perks are giving you like a passive power or passive advantage that is always the same value, and so that is easy to learn, easy to predict. As soon as I know which perk you have equipped, I know where you will be better or not, and so it's much easier for you as a player to play against those. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing that, and we're going towards that direction compared to stats, where with stats, everything could be changed at any type of different values, and you could never know when you were playing against a specific hero how many moves he would be able to do before getting out of stamina, how many damage he would deal against you from a heavy, from a light, and things like that. So, but we still wanted to have gear, we still wanted to have gear progression, we still wanted to have a reason to progress and to get better gear, and so that's why we made perks. And so we've tested those in the open test, and we've also tested something very key for us, which is what we call the transition plan. So how your existing gear with stats transfers to the new system. So we could have feedback on perks themselves, but also our transition design. So many feedback. Very interesting one. Things that we will be able to address, I think, for launch of Marching Fire. Other ones, I'm not sure yet. So I will split it in two parts. One part is the transition plan. The other part is the perk system in itself. So perk system in itself, lot of positive feedback. People get where we want to go, and they like it.
Couldn't resist. Sorry.
And they like it, and they think it's a good direction. So we're happy about that. We had some feedback on the costs. So the cost to upgrade. One of the thinking or the reasoning of our community right now is that they think they will craft more with perks than with stats, because they want to experiment different perks, activate different perks. And so they think even if the costs were lower, quite lower in fact than what we have in live now, they still think it was a bit too high, so it's something we're looking at. And I have some answers already, so I will go through those afterwards. Also, some players, so we had something back where some players were spending a lot of steel to upgrade the specific and salvage to upgrade the specific perk, but they couldn't activate it. And this is for many different reasons. It could be because they had the wrong equipment, or it could be because some perks can't be activated with other perks. And that's something that is not exposed really well in the game right now. And that's one of the things we're looking at, how we can improve it. And one of the things I'm not sure we'll be able to fix it for launch. We will still disclose, and we did it when we reveal perks, what can be activated together. So it will still be available on internet and things like that. But for the game itself, so that the game tells you you can't equip that with that, this is something we're working on. And I don't know when it will be ready. Now looking at the transition plan. So transition plan, there were many things. The refine levels weren't in the open test.
Right.
So we had some feedback saying, hey, my super cool refine gear got down to a normal legendary gear, why, blah, blah. So this is because refine was not in. Refine will be in at launch of Marching Fire.
Okay.
So that's one of the things. And also, we had some feedback based on the fact that we activate the same perk on all rarities. So let's say it's perk A. The first perk, you would have the same perk activated in gray and in green when we convert your items. So that was also one of the feedback we got. And one of the other things that I think is very interesting is that right now how our system is built is that we give you a perk by default if you don't own any gear. But what we saw is that players playing with the willing heroes, we had like, I think a third of the players playing without gear, without perks. And it's because when they equip their new gray items, often it was disequipping the active default perk, and it wasn't equipping yet a new perks because you had to craft it, upgrade it, etc. So that's also something we're looking at. So it's a bit deceptive right now to equip new items that you get because you're just losing a perk. And one last feedback that I will address right now is that we had many feedbacks regarding stamina builds and revenge builds. So right now we have some players with stats that are creating stamina or revenge builds, and it's not something they can do anymore with perks.
Right.
And this is by design. So one of the things we wanted to do with perk is also to limit the number of fight parameters we modify in a match, for understanding, learning reasons, and understability of what's going on. And with stats, we could modify a lot of different things. And we decided, at least at the introduction of the new perk system, to limit the things we modify. So we're still changing damage, we're still changing health and things like that, but we're not touching on stamina. So the number of moves you can do will always be the same, whatever you build, whatever your items equipped. This is by design. And then if, because of that, some players think, now I can't do my move with that hero, I was really using stamina builds, or everybody were using stamina builds for that specific hero, then something that we'll be able to address with hero balancing right away. And it's a bit the same approach with Revenge. Right now, Revenge, we have two types of feedbacks. We have some players telling us, Revenge is not powerful enough, do it again like season 1. We have that type of feedback, and other players say it's at the right spot or it's too powerful, and something we couldn't really balance. We could balance it, but we couldn't really balance at the extent where we wanted to because of the Revenge build that we're changing that by a lot. So now by cleaning that, we'll be able also to have a new look at the Revenge and be able to see if it's at the level where we want it to be.
Cool.
So that's why we did that way. So transition plan.
Sorry, just to get into that, one more thing.
Yeah.
Revive builds are out as well, so you can't have speed revive characters.
True.
So I think the worst cases of like instant revenge gain, super fast instant revives, these should be...
Yeah, and for the exact same reasons. So first thing we are addressing for Marching Fire launch is the transition plan. So transition plan, we want players to be able to experiment a bit more. So at Marching Fire launch, we'll give 5 crates of items. So it's 25 items you will get from the get-go, from the beginning, just to experiment. So that's one of the first things we're doing. Another thing we're doing is that we're changing what items we give, what perks we activate by default on your equipped items.
Okay.
So the unequipped items will still be random. So for example, if you don't want to have the same perks equipped on all your loadouts, if you have different loadouts, we advise you to disequip the items of your other loadouts to have something different. If that's when we will do the transition. And what we're changing is that, let's say the first perk is A. We're giving A by default to all rarities. Now we'll give A by default to all rarities, but we'll give B as well to the epic rarity. And we'll give G, which is the last one, the green one, to the green rarity.
Cool.
So you will have more perks by default depending on the rarity you're at. So and then because it's very some randomness in that, some of those you might need to upgrade them if they are not upgraded. If they are upgraded, all will be activated, but if they are not upgraded, you will have to upgrade some of those to activate the G perks or the B perk. For the and that's for the transition plan. Maybe I forgot some other things, but I will say it afterwards.
Okay.
For the deceptive aspect of the gray item, we decided to change the value by default. So now we're giving more perks points on your default equipment. So it means that when you get new gray items, you will be able to equip them and you won't lose your default item, your default perk. And so you will be able to experiment. And on top of that, we're only allowing in gray builds of perks that always go with that A perk. So it means that all your builds will always be with A. So it means that whatever you loot, you will most preferably never lose your A perk. So you can experiment in a safe environment, if I can say. So you will have in the end at gray rarity A and B or A and C. But you can't do B and C anymore in gray rarity. You have to reach the blue rarity to be able to do B and C.
Okay.
And so at blue rarity, you will be able to have no perks, but now you will know better the game, so it will be easier for you to experiment.
Got it.
So that's one of the things we're doing. Costs-wise, so we are changing some costs. And I won't go in the... So this is the patch note for Marching Fire that we're writing as of now. So that is not ready yet.
Spoilers.
But I have some numbers here. But high level, from the open test numbers that were already a reduction based on what you have live now, we're reducing all the prices by 20%. So all the upgrade prices are reduced by 20% from the open test value for the Marching Fire update. So you will have, it will be easier for you to experiment also different perks. And we're also changing the visual, the apply visual costs at Marching Fire update. So we're normalizing the prices. So now the prices will be the same for each rarity. So you won't have, based on the upgrade we've done, you have different prices, so this is gone. And we've reduced the prices by some percentage as well. I don't have the calculation here, but now Apply Visual will be cheaper, which is also cool. If you don't get the perks you want on your items by default that you have equipped, you will be able to do a mix and match for a cheaper cost.
Cool.
So those are the things. And I think I said everything linked to perks. I have many different pages, but yeah. So those are the things we've done for the moment. And one of the things we're working on right now is the fact that when you have some perks activated, we want to show you in the UI the ones that you can't activate it at the same time.
Okay.
So that's one of the improvements we're working on right now, but I don't know when this will be released. The rest that I've said should be released for Marching Fire launch.
Cool. We made it. Steph, I cut you off. There's one other thing you wanted to talk about with the Raider.
Raider, yes, I remember now. Some people may have noticed that Raider had better punishes, basically, Guard Break, Heavy. What we put in there was a more long-term experiment. It's not for Marching Fire update, blah, blah, blah. But what we wanted to know was, could we shave off 33 MS from the attack and not break the entire system, right? Would our under the hood code changes and so on be fine? And I didn't see a single thread that said, hey, it's 866. I didn't see a single thread that said I couldn't parry him. I didn't see a single thread that said it was broken. I saw threads about buffing Raider, which is not the intention, so sorry about that. But
So to be clear,
Yes,
that,
some people are very disappointed
Yeah.
when I told them, yeah, it won't be for Marching Fire.
yeah, sorry. But the really good thing is by putting on Raider, we kind of know where Raider sits right now, and we know what is working and what's not working. So the great thing for us was that by reducing by 33, we could test the hard values, and it seems to be working. And we could also test in it a 166 millisecond parry window, which opens up the potential for feint being closer to the actual strike timing by a little bit. This is my evil scheme that I'm thinking about. But really, Raider was a good testbed character. The guard break heavy is an accidental artifact of that because I did it super crudely where we just hacked off the end and said, let's see what happens. So punish changes are not intentional this time, but know that you Raiders out there gave us maybe opened some doors for us. So thank you for your service.
cool. Okay, I think that is everything we wanted to cover in the open test.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then you will have real specifics when we'll do
Yeah.
the patch note.
Oh yeah,
anyway.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Cool. And that's our show for today. We're not going to do a community corner. We just wanted to do laser focus on open test feedback. So that is our show. We'll be back next week, as always, with more. So thank you guys very much. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time. And yes, so because Twitch was down during this show, we'll be posting the VOD as soon as possible onto social, so people can actually watch what they missed. So if you're on YouTube, thanks for joining us. If you didn't make it here, thanks for watching the VOD. And that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
For honor, baby!
Hell yeah!